regarding a response to a pipeline incident. In December of 2022, a contract was awarded to Integrated Emergency Management, or IEM, to help facilitate this planning project with the Department of Emergency Services. So our project scope includes three main parts. The first part is a planning phase where we'll conduct a county-level plan to serve as the baseline of response to a pipeline incident within the county. We'll also define some planning assumptions in that. That'll be used then to develop 12 municipal-specific pipeline annexes, which will address specific community hazards and really dig into response into the localized communities. We'll also be developing template plans for healthcare facilities, long-term care facilities, and schools to help them guide their response as well. Following the completion of our planning portion of the project, we'll move into a training and exercise series, which will really test and evaluate those plans that we just created, identify areas of strengths and weaknesses, and then we'll tweak the plans accordingly based on the findings and the outcome of our training and exercise series. So these plans are in a constant state of evolution. We're always looking for areas of improvement.
I still want somebody to tell me how we can run half a mile uphill to escape
and things like
the
that.
pipeline
That
explosion.
training and exercise series will really kick off that evaluation and highlight any areas of improvement we need to make on our plans. And then finally, we'll conclude with a series of public preparedness workshops where we'll work with our communities and our municipalities to walk residents through preparedness items, both personal preparedness and community level preparedness. We'll talk about opportunities to speak to any specific resident concerns, whether they be maybe access or functional needs, any language barriers, things like that. And then we'll also talk about messaging and what communities can expect for public messaging surrounding a pipeline incident. You should mention here, the project focuses specifically on HVL, highly volatile liquids, but the framework of this plan, the framework of response will be applicable and standardized for all pipeline events across Chester County. So a little bit about our planning methodology. Heavy stakeholder engagement on the planning side from everybody from municipalities to first responders to pipeline operators, our state partners, educational and healthcare facilities to really understand.
How about the residents who live this?
The entirety of the impacts to the community. The plan will also include a hazard and impacts assessment that will evaluate the impacts of any release of hazardous materials transported in the pipeline. And the impacts to the community. We're looking to understand.
Oh, you mean like polluting Marsh Creek? Okay, just checking.
Vulnerability zones are. Those are used as planning
it's all
assumptions
vulnerability zone.
Again, guide our response to a pipeline incident. We decided to attack this in certain regions. So as we are planning, we're working with specific groups of municipalities with like makeup, density, things like that. So that communities can collaborate.
If you look at this
together,
map,
and
you will see
issues that are
there are municipalities that are not highlighted that actually have pipelines in them.
Some key components of the plan that are worth highlighting, standardized information collection. So this plan defines a standardized set of information that we're collecting within the Department of Emergency Services during an incident, whether it be in our 911 center or the Emergency Management Division. These standardized information points then translate to a tiered response system so that we can
I'm sorry to move the camera. I'm trying to get the slide.
In the most expedient manner to any sort of incident. The tiered response system, it also includes prompt notification to pipeline operators in the event of an incident, as well as other stakeholders. So our field providers on the ground and our first responders have quick access to subject matter experts as soon as possible.
Is that before or after things blow up?
We're working on various methods for alert and notification surrounding a pipeline incident, and the most effective and safest means of communication of notifying the public of an incident. We are working with.
Like, will I be notified?
We're starting to
I'm in a blast zone.
To understand their statement really on do not use a cell phone in a pipeline incident. That is a very vague and nondescript statement. So we're looking to drill down with them and do a little bit more research and find out what their research is behind that statement, get a little bit more data behind that statement and understand where it's coming from and see if we can provide a little bit more clarification. I use the analogy of 20 years ago, when we were pumping gas, we saw, placards plastered all over gas pumps to say, don't use cell phones at the pump. Since then, there's been a lot of research and data to prove that the likelihood of a spark at a gas pump from a cell phone is extremely low.
Which is
So
a
we wanna
really good
understand,
thing because everybody's
if
on
this
their
is
cell
outdated
phone pumping
language,
gas.
or if there is some sort of research today, current, to today's technology that would lead us to believe that cell phones do present a great risk during a pipeline incident. All of the aforementioned just allows us to make the most informed and timely protective action decision in the event of a pipeline incident, whether it be shelter in place, evacuate. We're working on predetermined messaging so that we can quickly send notifications to residents once a protective action decision is made during an incident. And again, we're focusing on constant reassessment of conditions during an incident and continuous messaging and communication to the public so our residents are well informed throughout the entirety of the incident.
Well, that would be a first because residents are not
just a
well
quick
informed about
timeline.
pipelines.
On where we're at with our project.
By
So
government,
it's a
that
little
is.
tough to see on
They
the
inform
screen.
themselves.
We're well into our county and municipal planning phase here in the moving into the third quarter of the year. Following that, we'll be developing some facility-specific plans like I talked about, our training and exercise series, and moving in final project completion. Our full-scale exercise should be in August of 2024. So we're well on our way. Admittedly, the project did fall slightly behind.
You think?
As we worked with some stakeholders and meeting scheduling and things like that, and as we identified, additional areas of improvement in our plan. But we're confident that the plan schedule will still remain on track. And project completion will still be in August. There are some built-in time buffers in there.
You can have a plan on paper. It doesn't
make
mean
up
it's
some
going
time
to
on
work.
the back end here. So, like I said, next step, we're really just finalizing plans. The county level plan should be finalized here in August. Municipal plans shortly following in September. We'll move into that series of stakeholder training and exercise where we train our responders.
In other words, they're rushing it through for election day.
And that standardized response. Move into our exercise series, and then we'll complete with public information and outreach.
Yes, they're rushing it through for
And
election
with
day.
that, I'll take any questions.
Oh, thank you.
I have just a few. One is, does this include joint exercises with not only the municipalities, but the FEMA and PEMA as well? Were they included in this?
Absolutely. The exercises starting from the tabletops all the way up to our full-scale exercise where, we'll put boots on the ground, actually move resources and things like that will involve all the partners at some levels in the response to an incident.
Okay.
Yes, but if you can't trust the pipelines, Marion.
Do you have any questions?
Just one maybe elaboration question. I've seen the Department of Emergency Services prepare and do training for the nuclear power plant in Limerick. How would that be similar or dissimilar from the outcomes of this study?
So you're talking specifically to training and preparedness on the response side or the community side?
Response side.
Yeah, very similar. The response to Limerick Generating Station event or Peach Bottom event includes a tiered system of response, like I spoke about. So we're looking to kind of quantify the release of or any sort of pipeline incident at the 911 call level, and again, kind of grade that accordingly and send the most appropriate assets. Very similar to what we do during a Limerick or a Peach Bottom incident.
Do any of you guys trust these people to get this done in an emergency? I don't.
Just using an example, and then depending on what that level of incident is, we send a preset, predetermined amount of resources. Obviously, with the local municipalities having the ability to scale up or scale down accordingly based on information. So this plan closely mirrors best practices and what we do in the nuclear power plant realm. 100%. We use that as the nuclear power plant framework and our nuclear regulatory guidelines to kind of guide this planning process. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I'm just
Yes, our eyes are glazing over.
Comparing the scale, you have a lot of municipalities, you have a lot of fire departments, you have a lot of folks moving around in a quick way, and I know there's, I believe, annual, biannual runs through of a 911 call and firefighters having to prepare for that type of 911 call. I'm wondering if something similar would happen here.
It is our intent. It is our intent to continually exercise this plan just as we do Limerick Generating Station or Peach Bottom. Absolutely.
Bill, at the I guess it was at the beginning of the term with my colleagues, we were able to watch an exercise. It was run by one of the pipeline companies, not the main one. I think it might have been Williams. So is this type of plan similar to what we saw at that time, or is this going to be a completely different type of exercise? I know you were not here at the time, but they had all the first responders there, the local municipalities. However, it was run by the pipeline company.
Yeah, very similar format, likely without knowing the exact specifics of the exercise. Our exercise series will step up in progression. So we start off with a tabletop exercise.
Brian Dunn is a supervisor from West Whiteland, and he wants to join the video, only Facebook won't let me add him.
And essentially talk through our response, validate our plans, and what's written in front of us, to what actually may happen. From there, we tweak the plans, and we'll move into a series of functional exercises, and that's testing specific portions of the plan, whether it be fire department's response or an EMS response, some sort of evacuation piece maybe. That'll be boots on the ground, moving resources, things like that. And then we put that
Yes,
all
but they
together
don't even want to report
full-scale
sinkholes.
exercise, which tests
How can you
everything
trust
from
that the right thing will
911
happen
all
here?
the way down to recovery, full gamut of resources. So likely extremely familiar with what you saw before, involving all of our partners from the local level all the way up to federal.
Do your partners include residents?
I think Ginny did have a good point, though, because at least the one that was run, I believe it was by Williams, because they were the ones that initiated the program. I think they defrayed much of the cost. Since this, obviously it's the local and county resources that are being utilized and taken out for a day for these things, and it's certainly something we have to do. But is there any way we can look to corporate entities that have these pipelines to get some reimbursement for the cost and the time that?
Yeah, I certainly don't see why not. We have a great working relationship now with our pipeline operators, and we continue to develop that.
Well, somebody has a good working
100%,
relationship with them.
That's something that we could look to them to seek some cost recovery on the time and effort and the resources spent on this entire project.
Welcome to
well
Blue Suit Political Double Talk.
That'd be great.
Are there any questions?
Okay, thanks, Bill.
Great. Thanks for your
Appreciate
time.
your work. Yeah, thank you. Next, we have new business. Under new business, we have